This is Luke, my oldest son. He's 17. And this is David, my 15-year-old. Amazingly, adoption was not on my radar. And I say amazingly because I'm living in the nation of Mongolia. We've started an orphanage. We have 30 little babies in our orphanage. And I'm not thinking about it. And so I just love God because He's thinking about it. He cared about every one of those babies. He knew them. And so I was about to return to the States. I had something I was going to do. I'm the doctor of this orphanage. Some of them are sick. I'm just feeling so much emotion about leaving, but I did find someone to cover for me during that time. And the night before I left the orphanage, I'm praying with our orphanage director. And in the middle of the prayer, I began to weep. Now, you might say, well, that's just you. No, that is not me. It was a very unusual time, but there was like a deep weep. And I knew it was in the middle of the prayer. I didn't know what it was about. I love that, God was praying through me. And the next day, I get on the airplane. I can see myself right now. I'm walking down the aisle of the plane to get to my seat, and I hear the Spirit of the Lord. It wasn't an audible voice, but it was a real voice in my heart. And I heard God say, "You're going to adopt." And I'm like, what? I mean, I am literally in shock because we're facilitating adoptions. I'm watching other people adopt. My friend that I work with, she's adopted 2 children by now. But this girl, no, I wasn't thinking about it. And God really put it in my heart. And I was only going to be in the States a month. And that was just a supernatural. In 1 month, I did all my paperwork. And I submitted my paperwork for adoption. When I went to you have to be fingerprinted. I went to be fingerprinted. And the guy said, "How'd you get this appointment?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "People don't get this. No one gets their appointment this quickly." Because it said on there how I'd applied and stuff. And so God he did it. He was working. At the same time I was doing that, there was a orphan boy in our orphanage who was very, very sick. He was in the hospital. We were told he was dying. I had so many people praying for him. And he was on a ventilator. He had an infection in his lungs. It did not look good. I didn't know at that time he's my son. So I get back to Mongolia. I come back early because of him. And I had always wanted to name my son Luke. So I had a long time ago a little football that had Luke on it, but I'd kind of given up my dream. I thought I had to be married. There were a lot of things that didn't happen the way I thought. So because they didn't happen the way I thought, that I didn't know God could do what He could do. But He remembered that little football, and He knew that little boy. That little boy recovered, came back to the orphanage, and so I've submitted my papers. I still don't know it's a little boy. I go back to the orphanage, and God begins to show me, it's him. It's that little boy that we've been praying for. He's my son. And you can't pick and choose in adoption. But anyway, because I worked there, because I was a resident in the nation, I worked with the government, and I adopted that little boy. And his name today is Luke. I was 48 years old. I was single, never been married. I was a very, okay, I'm a pediatrician. Okay, Rita, this all fits. No, in my mind, it had never been the scenario. I always thought I had to be married, thought there had to be a father. I too believe that is God's ordained. I mean, that's wonderful when it happens. But for Luke, He chose me. God wanted me to be Luke's mom. And that's still a miracle in my heart. So God's just still working, and, our babies are being adopted over the next couple years. And at the age of 52, I'm in my quiet time one day. I'm happy to have one little kid. That's fine. It's all joyful. God speaks a name in my heart. I'm like, "You're not doing this, are you, God?" His name was David. What I didn't know, and that's a whole nother story, but someone was praying for this little boy, asking God in a time of fasting who his mother was. Well, I didn't know that for almost a year later. It was me. And here I am at 52, adopting my second little boy, just in another supernatural way. And we had an orphanage. It was Christian. It's good. But you know what? The highest value for a person, a little child, is a family. I mean, we tried not to be institutionalized, but that orphanage it just didn't meet some of those needs. And we would cry out for those kids to go back to family, to find their forever family. And I got to be someone's forever family. And, so people always say, oh, those boys, they hit the jackpot, And I always say, really? No, I'm the one that hit the jackpot. God gave me a family when I wasn't a bitter single woman. I wasn't thinking I had to be pregnant or have a baby to be God's woman. He had transformed me to be his woman, but he gave me that family, and that's what he wants to do. Yeah, he wanted to do it for Rita, but he wanted to do it for Luke and David. He was moving mountains so that they could be part of a family, and I think that's what adoption's about. He moved every mountain so I could be his girl. I could be God's daughter. So he will move mountains for kids, and he wants them in homes. He sets the solitary in families, and that is his highest and his best. And I'm very grateful to be part of that. And we're still trying to get our kids in the orphanages back into families.